Hello, this is a tutorial. I want to talk quickly about how you can actually generate the signage, traffic signs for infra works. Of course, there's a lot of ways you can do it, and so first I want to talk about the goals. The goal is I want you to be able to customize your own signage, the traffic sign in infra works, so you can bring them in. You can have your own textures. You can have minimum number of polygons. I think that is the goal. There are many ways you can do this type of customized signage. The easiest way probably is already covered in many other online tutorial is you can use any of this signage here, and you can export this model into external FBX. Then you can swap a new texture to it. So there's has been covered in many other online tutorial. For example, this one is a detailed steps how to do this, how to bring in the Max program, and how you can swap a different texture. Alright, I will keep this link in my tutorial post, so later you can check it out. So this is one way to do that, really simple, to swap the material. There are other ways you can do it, is just by doing it from scratch. Instead of using the existing 3D objects from the palette, you can generate your own from the modeling program. For example, Rhino. So it's very similar like the previous tutorial I covered, how to create a single family house using Rhino. You can use Rhino or Max or Maya, whatever program you feel familiar with. Again, the goal is you try to make everything as low poly as possible, and also you have some technique to merge the points to apply the UV mapping for the material. So there's no difference from making a building. So that's the second way, is just building this from scratch. There's also other ways, for example, to download the free objects from the online library. For example, Turbo Squid, that is one of the largest online 3D library, where you can find a lot of free 3D material or 3D model. For example, street sign or traffic sign. And here you can see they basically has a price, but you can definitely check the free stuff, which will be actually pretty easy to find. And once you identified, for example, this one's free, then you can download the model. I do want to mention sometimes this free online 3D model is not necessarily be low poly, so you have to check out. Sometimes they give you the number of polygons. So in this case, the vertices of 5,000 is definitely too high. It's not really the ideal low poly, but what you need probably just some texture, and later you can create your own 3D model and apply to it. Unnecessary details like a round shape cylinder for the pool or some beveled edge, we don't really need that at all. So this is the Turbo Squid, a really good website. I would encourage you to check it out. There's also other ways. For example, this is in Unreal program, the game engine. I do want to mention they have a lot of 3D asset package. Sometimes you can directly download or purchase with a really low price. For example, this is one I purchased a long time ago. Let me pause this really quick. Well, I want to continue. So if you find a lot of this free online or low price Unreal package, you can actually purchase them as well. They usually have a pretty low poly model because this is for gaming, and you can easily later export this model into FBX format, and then later you can you can use them. So for example, here I want to show you, this is a package I purchased a long time ago. This is some signage for suburb, and also I have I think another package just for the street sign collection. So here I can show you both, if you use TurboSquid or Unreal, how to take advantage of this online 3D model, and you can use it directly by yourself. So I would actually start with a 3ds Max based on the TurboSquid. So one model I download, which is actually not free, but I somehow purchased. It's very similar like this. So after you log in, you can download, and I will open this set. It's not this set, but it's very similar. Here I will just open. They have let me say this one. So they have the 3D Max version here. You can actually see, yeah, this is the right file. So you got like hundreds of this signage, and you might think, well, this is pretty nice, I can directly use it to bring that into infra work, right? But it sometimes really depends on the way they set up. This might not be actually the cleanest model you have, so sometimes you have to do some actual work to make it in the right scale or in the right polygon number. So I will show you a typical way I do clean up the model and bring into Unreal, bring into infra work. The first thing I always do is check the unit, because the scale is very important. By default, I think 3ds Max is using meter. Usually I will just keep it as meters, because later in infra work or Unreal, they use metric system actually. However, if you are familiar with feet of inch, you could swap the display to feet and inch. So for example, here, although the system unit is meter, I can swap my display as US standard, which is based on the foot and inch, and click OK. So in the future, everything else let me go to the front F, will display it as foot. So for example, if I create a box, if I drag the box, estimate the height. So here you can see the height is about 10 feet. So I know that scale is correct. So basically, 3ds Max automatically translate meter from the unit into the foot and inch as our display. All right. So that's the first thing I would check, is whatever model you bring in, make sure the scale is correct. In this case, it's about 10 feet. I think that looks right. If it's not right, you have to make a selection, and then you have to scale. So here you can click. Where is the scale? Here we go, and then you can drag it up and down to scale up and or smaller. I always have a box as my reference, so I know this is about 6 foot high. It's kind of like a human height. Then I can scale my signage just to make sure it match the scale of a human. Let's go to P, means perspective. Then I'm ready to export the model. So the second thing I want to check is just make sure the model is clean. In this case, the model I have is actually being modeled in a very efficient way. I can show you what the model looks like at the beginning. That's using this signage. So basically, if you actually using a touch selection and a drag and drop a selection window, you can roughly see here's the 4 objects being selected. And this model actually has one for the front. I will do this. I will select everything and then go to affect pivot point. I will create align to center, align to objects. Just make the selection easier. So I now use W, change to center. Okay. So now I can use W and move this forward. So you can see it actually has a single face for the front. If I select this guy, right? You can see this guy is a single face on the back, right? So I have two objects, and also for the pool, if I make a touch selection, you can see there's a two objects. So that's how this signage, this traffic sign was made, is by four objects, and also the polygon number is really low, you can tell. So my goal is, well, I lost that connection. Where is it? I think this is the one, right? So I can do the zoom. Okay. So my goal is I want to actually merge them. Instead of four objects, I want to just be a single object. And also I want to make this sign a little bit closer. You don't want to have a complete overlapping, just keep a gap. That should be fine. So there's the back, there's the front. I do want to mention, well, let's merge them first. So I select four objects. I will go to here. I will collapse the selected. It's just my way to make it a little bit easier to select in the future. So I collapse them. But before I do that, I do want to show you quickly. If I go to the material, and I will pick the material from the front, you can see is a yellow color image. If I check the map, you see it has a diffuse color, and that's the only thing I need. Sometimes if you see the opacity, you basically just keep as a no map. We don't need control the transparency. For the diffuse color, ideally you want to link to a JPEG file. So here you can view the image as a JPEG. But sometimes if it's a TGA file, I would recommend you open in Photoshop, save as a JPEG, and relink here. The reason is JPEG is much smaller than TGA or TIFF, to make the file easier to manipulate. It's also sometimes the model came in with many different signage, kind of collaged in a single image. This is very typical in the game design. Although this is actually not ideal, because you want to actually, in game design, you want to save the memory, so you load many different small images as a single file. But for us, I prefer, if you can just crop that in Photoshop, then you can reapply the UV. But for the sake of this demonstration, we're just using the current UV. If you don't understand what is UV, here actually I can show you. There's a command named the UVW. Let's see, UV map. UVW actually is this one, unwrap UVW. If you apply, you can see here I can open the UV editor. You can actually see that is how these objects, this rectangular shape, only take a portion, right? Take a small portion of that image. So that's the reason it actually has many signage collaged in a single image. So it's not the best ideal situation, but we can leave it for now. Alright, so just let you know that is the UVW. You can actually see it. For us, I want to actually just simply convert this guy into did I collage it already? Yeah, I don't really need to see it, so I will just delete this tag, and I think I already I haven't collaged this yet, so I go ahead, collapse selected, so they became one object. The material disappeared, which is okay, it's not a big deal, and yeah, it became one. Just makes things easier. So now into the modify, I can see this became an editable mesh. Usually you want to convert to editable poly, just because in Max, poly has a better, cleaner control on the face, like quads or elements. Editable mesh is kind of old school. I would prefer use editable poly. So here, if I select use the elements, you can still see, here is the four elements. You can somehow make a selection. All right. So back to the material, and we already, detect this yellow color material here. So the best way you can apply this to these objects, we can do this as two ways. First, if you select entire objects, I can just simply give a gray color to the objects. So every single face in this sun has the gray color. So that is object applied. And also this is better than Rhino. You can select a face, right? Or you can select elements. In this case, it's the same thing. I can only select a face, then I can go to this yellow sun and then choose apply, assign the material to selection. So basically, this object has multiple materials. One is a gray color for the rest, one is for the front. In fact, I think for the back, I can apply this as well, because I think this back carry another UV. So even you assign to the back, you see it actually give you that kind of like a metal texture, which is a part of the image. If I open it, you can see, I think this part is the back, has two nails. This can be actually mapped. So that's the nice thing about this this model. So I think that's pretty much done. You have the front, you have the back. Another thing usually I will check is, let's get out of the element selection mode, is right click, you can go to the properties of the object, and if you turn on the backface call, you basically can see this backface will disappear from front. If I rotate, the front face will disappear because the normal direction. I think I covered this in another tutorial. Basically, in the 3ds Max, the objects can only be displayed with a positive normal direction, which is true for if you set up the calling is efficient. You don't want to render the back face, so this is a quick way you can have this signage done. And then the last step, actually not the most important one, but is always nice, is if you have these objects and then use W to move, sometimes the center point is not necessarily in the center of the objects. So I would prefer you do the center pivot. So here I will choose effect pivot, and I would do the sun to the center, right? Center to objects. So you see that is the center point, and then I will move this down a little bit because I think the bottom part. Where is it? Okay, here we go. I'll just move it close to the bottom, and then I will close. Right. So in the future, if you want to scale up and down, or if you want to move objects, this became a pivot point. It's just really handy to clean up a 3D model. All right, I think that's it. Another really quick thing is you do want to make sure. I know sometimes when the material bring in, it carry the transparency. So here, if you go up, just make sure the opacity is always 100. I know sometimes they like to use a mask to make the objects has this kind of beveled edge. We don't really care. So in this case, just make sure the opacity is 100. And the map, you only have a diffuse JPEG file applied to the diffuse. You don't want to have any opacity mask. All right, we're done. Then we are going to just actually export a selection. So I will give this guy FBX. I will give this name, let's see, yellow merge. So that is FBX. I'll export it. When you export, make sure you check embed media, so the texture will be carried. Done. And then here in InfraWorks, I will go to here. This is the customized folder I created by adding a new style catalog. I gave this catalog a name, the Tang Sun. So in the future, I will just bring everything I created into this new folder or new category. So inside the category, I can go ahead add an individual object. So that is a yellow merge. I have two of them. That's strange. Okay. Oh, I probably did one last night. Anyhow, I think I will. This is the new one I just did this morning. Yellow merge. That's the name. Okay. It's very small. It's only 300K. So click open. You can see the signage is right here, right? And usually I will make the anchor point to lower left. Okay. I will reset view. So that's the model looks like now, and then click OK. Okay, so this is the new one, yellow merge 2, because this is another one I did today. Okay, so that's how you bring a 3D model into. Let me just check the yellow merge. This is the same. Oh, this is actually different merge. Right, this is actually merged from the ramp. This is the one I did this morning. It's kind of different, right? 2 lane became 1 lane. Yeah, that's good. They are different. So the way I can use it is, if you have a signage already, you can just drag and drop. So you can switch between this. I know this is smaller because that's interesting. I was expecting this to be 10 feet. I don't. Oh, this is actually no. This is a different file. Here, if I check the F on front, right? This is the size. I want to just make sure the unit right now is meter and US standard. And here, if I create a box, just to measure the height. Oh yeah, this one is only 5 foot. So you got an idea. You know, that's actually looks precise. Here is about 5 foot, right? Close to a human height. All right, here we go. Yeah, if you want to make this one larger, you can actually either go back to 3ds Max, scale up, or you can do some scale right here. In my opinion, I would prefer to do in Max because you do want to give everything as a clean model there in InfraWork. So here I will just simply scale up this, maybe double the height. So here I will just simply eyeball that. So that's roughly double the height. Then I can move everything back. Yeah, so that's pretty much double the height. So here if I do that, right now it's roughly 10 feet, right? You can tell that. And then here from perspective, I will just simply export. This is the one, right? Merge this one more time. I already merged, so export to the same name. So yellow merge. I want to make sure I did this morning, right? Yellow merge. Save it. Yes, replace. And here in InfraWork, I will just simply double click. So here, sometimes I know if you're using the same name to reload, it will not actually refresh. So sometimes I just loading a irrelevant file to flush out the memory, then I will loading this back. So it will show up, and just make sure the same setting, click OK. And you should see this one will go up. Yeah, so it's doubled height. I think that's actually a pretty good height for this signage. All right, so we covered the whole process, you know, how to clean up the model in Max and how to bring that into InfraWork. I do want to show you sometimes it's actually easier to start a fresh file because you have the full control on the number of polygons. So for example, if you want to do a pool, you can just draw a pool there. If you want to do a signage, I will just do a signage there. This is actually you have the full control, and then I can just simply assemble them as exactly the way I want. So I have the total control on the polygon number. And of course you can do this using Z to zoom in. You can do this in Rhino as well. It's not really a big deal. Right, this is actually a pretty easy way to make the model. I will just scale this along one directions. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, that's it. Then I can just simply collapse them. Right, so here, oh, I will do something first. I will actually delete some of the face. So let's do this. Because I know, because it's very thin, I don't really need the edge. This is the easy way. You can easily right click. Right here is the box, right click, convert to editable poly. Once you're in the poly, you can select face. This is just to make the model really efficient. So I will delete the edges I don't really need. In this case, is the bottom. On this side, I don't need that edge. To make it even more efficient, I can delete. I will get out of this first, convert that into a poly as well. Right, and then I can select the face. I don't need this top face. Now this is extremely small poly, low poly number. My mouse is not really working very well. Let's do this. I will just rotate this way. Yeah, sometimes the middle wheel is not efficient. Okay, then I can pick up the use Q, pick up this face, delete the face. All right, so got an extremely low poly model. Then I can go ahead to apply a new texture. So here I will go to that, and then I can generate a new material. I do want to show you I have some collection of new materials for the signage. They actually come out from here, from the Unreal, but I mean you can find a lot of this in other programs. Not necessarily has to go with Unreal. So here I will show you the one I have. So here the street sun package. In the textures, you can see this is all the textures in the Unreal format, and also you can see the 3D model right here. For any 3D model, this is the static mesh. If you choose search, you can actually see that is the 3D model already in Unreal. So you can actually export this into InfraWorks, but sometimes if you check the details, this is too high. You have this nice metal plate. I don't think I need this beveled edge. I don't like this cylindrical shape. So in this case, I probably just need the texture instead of the 3D model. I think that is too high poly. So the texture is right here. The way you can bring the texture out is you select, holding Control, select the pieces you want, right? Maybe this one, and then you can right click, choose Asset, All Actions, Bulk, Export. So that will just export the entire texture as individual TGA file, because by default I think if you define a folder, it will just automatically export the file. It's pretty efficient. I think by default it is it is TGA file. So once you have the TGA file, usually I will do this. I will go to Photoshop, Script, and then I will do the image processor, and I will select the folder which I have all of these TGA files, and I will resize them to 515, which is a low resolution. It's good enough for the signage. I will save them as a JPEG file. So this is what I do usually, is just convert all the TGA to JPEG, and then you can click run. It's going through everything. And I don't want to do this right now because I already did. I think I have a folder I can show you. And I saved all the images right here. So you can see the texture is from the original TGA file, batch export from Unreal. In the JPEG, this is automatically converted by Photoshop. So they are pretty good. You can definitely use any of these in your model. You can do it in Max or in Rhino. So here I will just do it in Max. And the quick way is, first I have a gray color. I can just apply the gray color to this, and I can pick up the front and assign a new material. So this is a new material. I will go to diffuse, click bitmap, and I will target to, I don't know, maybe rectangular sun. Let's see, no U-turn, no parking, no U-turn. Let's do this. All right, so done. You can see this is applied to this object. You can click go to parent. You can see this is a map on the diffuse, right? And here is the map in the JPEG file. Usually I will disable the real world scale because we don't really care, so just disable that. Okay, then I will go ahead select the face. So the face, you can just simply go to elements, pick up the front face, and then choose a sun. Okay, you will see this white color triangle show up in the anchor point. So that means this material is being applied to the scene. The same thing for the gray color one. If you want to display this in the scene, you can just click show shared material, shaded material. So you will see that show up, right? StudioMax is really efficient. You can disable the show. All right, so the last step I want to do is to simply apply the UVW mapping because I think the scale is wrong. So here UVW map, okay, and I will do the box mapping, and I will disable the real world. Once you disable, is basically just using the tile, one-on-one to map on that surface. Because surface was made in rectangular shape, so it's automatically match. But if you want to make adjustment, you can go to Gizmo, which is this guy. You can move this up and down. If you have like a circle or hexagon shape, you can make some minor adjustment right here, and then get out from the Gizmo once you're done. Yeah, so that's how you get this model applied. So just keep in mind, right now I have, if I make a window selection, touch selection, right, you can see here the two objects selected. So again, is my way to clean up the file. I always want to do a collapse selected, so they became one object. It's just a little bit cleaner. And also I always do effect pivot only. I want to align two objects, and I want to always make the the center point at the bottom. That just makes things a lot easier later. So I done with the first this no turn. Oh, it's actually not lined up very well. So let's go to front. Yeah, I didn't pay much attention. So let's do this. I will make some minor adjustment. So here, if I select the objects, I just want to make sure you select both, not just the front. So it's, yeah, if I move it, I think this is in the center now. Okay, so go to P, means perspective. You want to make sure it's in the center. That looks good. I maybe want to move up a little bit. So I go to front again. I think, yeah, the proportion wise, probably want to do this a little bit higher. Okay, so you're done with the upper part. This part I want to actually maybe just go to the points, pick up these points, move the points up. You see, this is how the 3ds Max works. It's really flexible. You can adjust this a little bit. So I think I'm good. This is a nice one. And also last step is I do want to make sure the scale is correct. So usually I will just do another box. I know the height right now, wow, is really high. It's 250. That's wrong. Let's do another. Just make sure. Yeah, this is a gigantic signage. So I will just scale down this. So right now I'm going to do this as a 10 feet probably. So here is roughly 10. Oh, this is 100. Okay, 10 feet is actually like that. All right. See, so I create this. I think the 10 feet is roughly the half size of the grid. So now I can just simply R to scale. You can move up and down, or left and right to control the scale. It's pretty easy because I already have the pivot point in the right position. So now this is about 10 feet high, right? So this box tell you the scale. Let's do one more time. I want to make sure the scale is right. Oh, it's 20. I think I still need to make this down a little bit. Yeah. Okay, let's scale this one more time. It's easy. Right, so now this is about 10 feet high. Okay, and you can see this scale is 12. Yeah, that's all. Then I will go ahead export this into. One more thing I do want to just repeat a little bit. If you use the P is a perspective and Z to zoom in. Wait a second. Okay. Yeah, let's just make some other adjustment. I want to make this guy, the face, a little bit closer. Okay, that's good. Yeah, this looks better. One last thing I want to do is actually check the properties. And I want to turn on the back face call. You can do this by objects or by layer, either way. And ideally, this one should only display in the front, and the back should only display on the back. So you can see the front is actually disappeared. Can you see that? So that is the back face calling means. You just want to make sure everything is correct. If it's not, you probably have to go to the normal, and you have to flip the normal here. So this is one of the actions in modification. So here's the normal, then you just click flip. Alright, so in my case this is all correct. So I will go ahead, export the selection. I will give this FBX. I give this name sun no turn. Just make sure it's easy to understand. And check embed media. With that, then here I'm going to add this FBX. This is called sun no turn, right? You see the file is only 124K. It's much smaller. And you can see the sun right here. Just make sure it looks right. Oh no, you see this part is actually applied with the gray color. Okay, let's cancel that. I don't know, it looks like gray here. Well, let's just double check. So here I will apply the object selection, and then I will just apply this one more time. To make sure this is gray color assigned to this face. Alright, that's interesting. Get out. Then I will export this one more time. Let's see, I gave this sun no turn right here. Yes, replace. And here I will just add sun no turn. Right, so now if I zoom in, it should look like a gray color. Yeah, it's a little bit fat here, but that's okay. I think it's minor. I will make the anchor to either the center point or the left. I think that left should be fine. Click OK. is in, I will give this name no turn. Okay. Yeah, and then if I want to use it, I will just simply drag and drop right here, right? The height is, well, it's actually pretty small. Yeah. Just F to fit in. Huh, I don't know why, that's strange. I was thinking, oh, actually that's the wrong one. Where is the no turn? Oh, right here. So drag and drop. Here we go. So this one is about 10 feet high. Yeah, that looks awesome. Okay, so that's how you get the the new signage in. Of course, if you want to apply this as a city furniture, you just type the name no turn. Right, I type no, right, this is no turn. So I can select this as my default. I can double click, draw a line, then I can have a sequence of these signs. I can, change the density. So there's a lot of things you can do once you have this model in your palette. And since we create all the palette here, I will go to parent. So this is my palette category. I can go ahead export this as a single file. This is basically a Java, a JSON file. So let's give this file name as it's just have a default name. I think that's fine. 3D model traffic town sign style. So I will save it. Yes. Okay. So I basically export this file which contains this signage. In the future, if I go ahead open a different file, let's see, I'm opening my my old file. Let's see this one. And this file does not have the signage, right? So if I want to load this new set of signage from one InfraWorks file to another, I can just input that JSON file. So let's take a look. Right, so here in this file, if I go to the palette, right, and here in the 3D model, in the traffic, you don't see the new thing I just created, right? But here you can go to import, and I can find that JSON file, click open. It should automatically loading my stuff right here. Let's see. Yep, it showed up. Then you can see everything here. If I want to use it, I can, go to city furniture. I can see no turn will show up, and here I will just simply, draw the line, and you can see that it's all showing up. In this case, there's a no turn here. Right, so this is the FBX file still connected, and maybe in this case I want to rotate this along the z-axis 90 degrees. Click OK. So see the sun will face in the right direction. Actually, that's the wrong direction. Let's go to negative. Or 270. I think I like that number. Right, so they will facing the other way. Okay, so this is how you can bring the signage from one file to another, from TurboSquid, from Unreal into the package. So later I will just simply input this town sign folder into our project file, so you will be able to actually see it. So just as example. All right, I think that concludes this long tutorial.